What is going on, guys, and welcome back to this discussion. For today's video, we're going to be talking through what leader class figures that we can expect heading into the beginning of 2027. Now, I do imagine that these figures will likely be revealed roughly a year from now, much like we've recently seen from the first wave of 2026 figures. The first listing is of an 86 movie Swoop, which is possibly the first reissue heading into 2027, which by the time this guy releases would have been roughly around 3 years since the original version. The Dinobots just in general have always been incredibly challenging to track down, and unfortunately are kind of expensive on the aftermarket, so I imagine that this will be a great second opportunity, especially for those who only recently picked up the 86 movie Grimlock. The second listing is of an 86 movie Sleep Mode Optimus Prime, based on his appearance just after his demise in the 86 movie, and the second release of this design, following in the footsteps of the Earthrise version. Now, I do imagine that this will just be a straight repaint of the recently released Commander class Optimus Prime, possibly with a new head sculpt to simulate his battle damage. I would also like for them to maybe retool the chest to recreate the slash that he did have on the right hand side, although I very much doubt that they'll do so. Honestly, I imagine that this won't be particularly popular, especially if some of the more recent 2-packs are anything to go by, but considering that this was a pivotal moment in the movie, this repaint was bound to happen. The third listing is a comic universe Soundwave, the first time I believe that Studio Series will be delving into the comics, which is incredibly exciting. With the recent announcement that the design team are now looking at including characters from the 1984 and 85 series of the original cartoon, it really does seem like anything is possible. I'm still really hoping that one day they'll decide to go back and revisit the Transformers Prime TV show. Unfortunately, most of the updates that came from Legacy were severely inaccurate to the designs, and with the original first edition figures basically being perfect, they could quite simply take those designs and just update the articulation. Now, I do imagine that this version of Soundwave to likely be based on the Marvel comics. When this does eventually release, it will only be roughly a year since the 86 movie version, and I very much doubt that they'll be giving us a new mold anytime soon, so I do imagine that this will likely be just a purple repaint of that exact figure, with possibly a brand new head sculpt, and maybe with the inclusion of Ratbat. Then, as for the fourth listing, there will be a comic universe Fortress Maximus, which to be honest is a character that I never expected to show up in Studio Series, let alone as a leader class figure. Historically, Fortress Maximus has always been a Titan scale character. I do believe that even at one point, the Titan's Return version was the largest Hasbro Transformer ever made. This character at the moment is heavily rumoured to either be based on his appearance in the Marvel Comics or IDW. Considering that Soundwave will more than likely just be a repaint of the Studio Series 86 version, I am willing to bet that this version will also be Marvel inspired, which just by design is incredibly similar to his G1 appearance, so I could also definitely see them repainting him into more animation accurate colours in the future. Either way, this is incredibly exciting. Having a character that is often only seen released as a Titan class to be downscaled to a leader will hopefully open up the possibility of more affordable versions of characters such as Unicron. Then, as for the fifth listing, there will be a Transformers 5 Hound. Firstly, I think it's amazing that we are finally seeing more characters from that movie. Recently, we got the announcement of Barricade. There is also set to be a leader class Megatron releasing in 2026, and by the time this guy releases, it would have been roughly around 10 years since the release of Transformers 5. Now, to be honest, I've always thought that Hound had some pretty cool figures. The original Age of Extinction version, despite clearly being based on concept art, was easily one of the best to come from that toy line, with the slightly more recent Transformers 5 version arguably being even better, with it proportionally being a lot closer to the animation model. Considering that this new version is heavily rumoured to be a leader class, I'm expecting it to be even better. One of the biggest cheats with the original was that if you bought the movie the best version, then the entire back half of the truck could be completely removed. I'm guessing that with this release, that will more than likely be fully integrated into the transformation, so it will definitely be interesting to see how exactly that plays out. I'm also hoping that this version will include most, if not all of the weapons that we did see him use in the film. The Age of Extinction version was incredibly enjoyable to mess with, mainly due to the amount of accessories he came with. It will also be interesting to see how tall he is, as the Transformers 4 Optimus Prime is already fairly small, and Hound wasn't particularly a huge character, at least height-wise. Then finally, there will be a 2007 Optimus Prime, which will coincide with the 20th anniversary of the original live-action movie. Now, considering that this is rumoured to be a leader class, I very much doubt that it will just be a reissue of the previous Voyager with a few extra accessories. This release will also make it the third attempt in Studio Series, which is actually kind of wild, especially as they created a near-perfect version back in 2009, and then downscaled it in 2010 to make it arguably even better with the Hunt for the Decepticons version. The original Studio Series Optimus Prime really wasn't the best, and to tell the truth, I'm actually surprised it was even released, as it was only a few months after that they came out with a significantly better version that could even combine with Jetfire. I'm guessing that this could maybe be the live-action movie equivalent to the Studio Series 86 Optimus Prime, in the sense that it could potentially be one of the best versions ever made. I would hope that for a leader class he would include the Buster Cannon, arm blades, and, maybe considering that this is releasing to coincide with the anniversary of the first movie, potentially the Cube. That was a major plot point of the film, and is arguably one of the most iconic artifacts that come from those Michael Bay films. Considering that his design didn't change at all between the first and second film, I am wondering if maybe he will also include the Matrix of Leadership. It also begs the question whether or not this version will be taller in comparison to the previous Studio Series figure, and if so, will it still be able to combine with Jetfire? The biggest improvement that I would like to see would have to be the truck mode. Unfortunately, neither of the previous two really looked particularly great, especially when it came to the smokestacks. Again, to kind of go back to my previous point, if they were to even just take the Hunt for the Decepticons Voyager and slightly re-engineer that, then I think we could be looking at the best Optimus Prime based on those films. I could even see them potentially reusing this new version as a commander class in the future, with him including his trailer based on Transformers 3 that could then transform into a jetpack and even the annular ring. But I would love to get your thoughts. Be sure to sound off below and let me know. As always, I thank you all so much for watching, and until my next video, I'll see you then. Transform and roll out!